What's going on, Los Angeles, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? How we doing? The Madman here, riding a little bit solo. This is going to be a bit more of a Bruin bite here. Thriller's going to be joining me in a few days. We're going to be hitting up that open scrimmage and breaking it all down for you as that dynamic duo, as we always do. But wanted to grab a few minutes with the audience here to talk a little bit about the news recently with Kaedin Robinson, and really just so saddened with the NCAA's ruling denying Kaedin Robinson a final year of eligibility after he spent much of the last 4 or 5 years with UCF and Appalachian State. Kaedin Robinson would have been such a phenomenal addition to this UCLA roster. Bigger physical receiver, even though he was only 6'2", he sort of played bigger, had a bigger catch radius, very much stylistically in the ilk of an Elijah Surratt at Indiana. Obviously more to go there to reach that status, but that was who he was stylistically, and really thought to be brought in to really strain all three levels of the defense, be able to get open in sort of under 10-yard scenarios, get open in that 15 to 20-yard range, and also be able to stretch the field vertically. So when you lose a player of that caliber, obviously you're so saddened for him, number one, and you're also looking at the wide receiver room here at UCLA and saying, okay, who's got to step up and what has to happen next? But for Kaedin Robinson, we'll just sort of close here. Just wish him all the best. I know that there's some other legal venues to be able to go and see if there's a reversal of the decision moving forward and whatnot, and appeal. But effectively, those appeals processes are going to be months down the road. And in essence, his availability for this 2025 season is over. And so we just wish him all the best and hope everything works out for him, as he undoubtedly has a bright future, both collegiately as well as potentially at the next level. And so the question now becomes, where does that leave UCLA's wide receiver room? Because now you're down Kaedin Robinson, and you're also going to be down Rico Flores. As folks recall, Rico Flores, the transfer from Notre Dame last year, showed so much promise against Hawaii, particularly in that opener, and really looked like Thriller and I thought he was going to be wide receiver one coming out of spring and fall last year. Had some injuries and hasn't been able to get back on the field. We're cautiously optimistic that he's going to come back in October. But again, with that much time off, coming back in October, I don't know if 2025 is realistic for Rico Flores to have a big impact, where he's really looking at that from a 2026 standpoint, where he can really jump in and make some big dividends for this roster. So if we assume we're down Kaedin Robinson and we're down Rico Flores Jr., how does this wide receiver room stack up? And what can we look forward to as Bruin fans and supporters? And I think the room is a little bit more streamlined, but I think there's sort of an opportunity now for some more role clarity and for guys to be able to step up. And when you think about that wide receiver room, the first person that you have to think of, no conversation can really begin without Quasi Gilmer, the rising sophomore who's, 6'2", 190 pounds. He had 31 catches, 345 yards, 2 touchdowns last year as a true freshman. Showed tremendous promise, particularly in that Nebraska game where he broke out. He showed some tremendous flashes in the Washington game late last year. And just you get the sense that this is going to be a huge breakout year for Quasi. He's been very vocal with the media about kind of going for the Biletnikoff this year and really sort of having some very high aspirations. And it's very evident that Nico Iamaleava's connection and chemistry with Quasi Gilmer is exorbitantly high. And so fully expect Quasi Gilmer to be wide receiver one, no question about that, and really threaten, given Iamaleava's arm talent, really threaten that 1,000-yard receiving mark and potentially even a 10-touchdown mark for the season as well. So we got Gilmer really slotted as wide receiver one, feeling really good about that. And I think wide receiver two fits in very nicely. Our old friend, old reliable, our great friend TMA, Titus Mokiao Atimalala, whose family, such great supporters of this show. We love him. We love his family. And I think this is really an opportunity for TMA now at 6'1", 190 pounds to really definitively take that wide receiver number 2 position and have a big year. Titus is someone that can play very, very comfortably in the slot and really play that 8 to 10 yard game, but then also kind of get into that 15 to 25 yard range. A really sophisticated route tree with Titus. I think he has the ability in terms of inside slants, in terms of corner routes. He just sort of has a sense and a knack of getting open and understanding defenses. Last year, he had 28 catches, 294 yards, and a touchdown. I think we're really expecting him to build upon that. He's been a 3-year veteran. Obviously, a couple of years here with UCLA. He was at UCF. But I think Titus complements the dynamism of Quasi Gilmer extremely well. And so fully expect TMA to be wide receiver too. So we got Gilmer, we got TMA. And I think now it's where it gets kind of interesting as wide receiver 3. And I think the going in position, certainly midway through the spring, after we made some noise in the transfer portal, was that Mikey Matthews, the transfer from Utah 2 years ago and then Cal last year, now to UCLA, 5'9", 180 pounds, really sort of a live wire, that classic slot guy. You know, he had 29 catches, 30 catches, 282 yards and a touchdown last year, less than 10 yards a catch. So you know he's really that slot receiver through and through for where he was with Utah as well as with Cal. And so complementing Gilmer and TMA, I think there was a perception that Mikey Matthews was going to be that guy at number 3. But I think a lot of that thinking sometimes was also predicated on who the quarterback was going to be. And I think if it was Joey Aguilar, Matthews at that number 3 wide receiver position, I think made a lot of sense given Aguilar's style of play. And let's not forget, Kaedin Robinson was really a big factor coming here because of Joey Aguilar. There were teammates at App State last year, and it was really his favorite target. Now that Aguilar moves away, Nico Iamaleava comes in, I think that going in position changes. And I think the guy I'm really looking at in terms of wide receiver number 3, I think Matthews is going to have a really solid year for UCLA, make a big impact. But I've got my eye on Jaden Wilson. And Jaden Wilson, 6'3", 185 from DeSoto, Texas. He didn't play last year, but 2 years prior to that at Arkansas, absolute speed burner. And at 6'3", he's now the tallest guy in this receiving room, essentially. And because when you think about Gilmer, 6'1", 6'2", Titus is 6'1", 6'2", and then you got Mikey Matthews at 5'9", having Jaden Wilson's speed, number 1, but also his size, number 2, I think makes him a unique combination to come in and be that wide receiver number 3 in that first unit. Because let's not forget, Iamaleava loves to air it out. I mean, he's got significant arm talent for a reason. He's got a huge gun. We saw it last year at Tennessee. He's going to take his share of shots. And Jaden Wilson is the guy to take shots with. 2 years ago at Arkansas, he had 15 catches, but 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's a deeper threat. There's no question about it. But then also at 6'3", you're getting a wide receiver who's a little taller, a little bigger, and particularly when you're getting into some red zone situations, some difficult third down situations on the road against some tighter defenses and tighter coverage that's played in the Big Ten. If you're Nico, you want a bigger target from time to time. And obviously Hudson Habermill is going to play a huge role with this at the tight end position. But I just kind of like Jaden Wilson there at that number 3 position. Team hasn't announced anything. They haven't really shared just yet who that top 3 is going to be. Conventional wisdom was that Matthews would be number 3. I like Wilson. So to me, Gilmer, TMA, Wilson as that first 3. And then you bring in Matthews when you go 4 wide. And now you got 2 guys that are kind of your intermediate guys with Matthews and TMA. And then 2 guys that are much more dynamic in terms of down the field, in terms of Gilmer and Wilson. Now you got a defense on skates completely. So I know it was very disappointing news with Kaedin Robinson. I certainly was extremely disappointed. I know Thriller was as well. We talked about it a bunch offline. And so wish him nothing but the best. But again, given Nico's arm talent, and I think the situation, we still have to be feeling really good about this wide receiver room. I think there's a really nice pecking order. There's a really nice hierarchy. And when you factor in the Tino Sunseri system, particularly with what he has at tight end with Habermill, as well as kind of that 2-headed monster with Thomas and Berger, you still got to love the weapons here. And I still maintain, I think this team is going to be in a ton of shootouts, primarily because of the offensive flexibility that they have. And I think we're going to be in a lot of games in the 30s here that's going to come down to a play or two or a possession or two down in the fourth quarter. So, folks, wanted to jump on here quickly, just give an update on that Kaedin Robinson situation, how it impacts our wide receiver room moving forward. But we're going to be jumping right back in a few days. Thriller and I are going to have a ton of coverage from the open scrimmage, who we like, who are some unsung heroes, who are some surprises, who balled out, what we saw, the dynamics both on the field and the locker room. So absolutely excited to provide all of that coverage to all of you. And hard to believe we're just about 10 days from the opener in the Rose Bowl against Utah, and we just absolutely cannot wait. And folks, thank you so much as always for all of the support. This is a big year for our content community at LAFB, as well as the coverage that we provide for UCLA, and we want to provide the best possible coverage we can for years to come. It would mean the absolute world to us if you like and subscribe to continue to grow this channel, continue to grow the community. Tell your friends, tell your fellow Bruins about us. And as always, be loud, be proud, be passionate Bruins. And like I always say, fours up forever, baby.